Campaign for the Florida Man Kickstarter. Florida Man RPG is an original TTRPG based on some of my favorite games, characters, and of course the viral insanity that is Florida. And this ain't a supplement. 6 ability scores, 10 playable species, 10 classes, 30 subclasses, 12 backgrounds, a full list of alignments, deities, feats, weapons, vehicles. Florida Man RPG will be completed using only human art and input. I've recently partnered with the fantastically talented Thatch Durbin. His role, in addition to awesome illustrations, will be bringing my Florida Man RPG vision to life. I've been cultivating a small team of creatives to put this thing together, and we're ready to get started. So why the GoFundMe? The pre-launch will provide the necessary capital used to commission the art and design for the upcoming Kickstarter campaign. It'll also cover short-term production and prep costs, assets, printing quotes, marketing. Finally, this funding will also help pay bills and keep the lights on while I devote my full time to the project. And if you do decide to donate, you get some pretty cool stuff. Your name on a special acknowledgement page in the book, early access to images and playtest materials, and my eternal gratitude. and maybe some kind of Florida blessing or something. No promises. Check out the link in the description. It's got all the information that's there. It's got that really cool original art piece by Thatch. Remember, sometimes the best stories don't happen in dungeons. They happen at the gas station. Thanks for listening, and thanks for believing in the project. Let's make something completely unhinged.
Welcome in, everybody. I am having some sort of headphone issue. I can't hear myself speak. So I'm going to turn that down because you guys don't need to hear that. So yeah, welcome in. This is Rogue Bard Advice. We are a D&D TTRPG podcast. And we do everything from talk about D&D, to talk about TTRPGs, to sports, to archaeology news, to video gaming, to everything. It's a nerdcast, if you will. So, with that being said, I know I'm live right now, but we have a dedication tonight, and it's a somber dedication. So at this point in time, I would like to go to our dedication page, and hopefully I did something right for a change. Tonight's stream is dedicated to the memory of Beverly Hurlburt. We may not have known you, but you were a pirate in the truest sense of the word. Brought to you by the letter R. Now, if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't been to the Discord, Ron's mother joined the Great Beyond this past Tuesday, and he shared with us her memorial service obituary. And in her memorial service obituary, we found out that she was a very big fan of the letter R. All of her sons' names begin with the letter R. And even one of her grandkids' name begins with an R. So she, when that happened, she was like, so I have another R to add to my arsenal. So, yes, thank you. Condolences to Beverly's family. Condolences to Ron and Ruby. We know Beverly will be missed. So I hope I did you guys a little justice tonight. Well, not justice, but just service. How's that? So I want to take this time to welcome in everybody in the chat. We've got Kevin, we've got Ron, we've got Ruby, we've got Kirk, we've got the Mrs. Pirate, we've got SSJ Rose Jake, Teeny's in the chat, Yokai's in the chat. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I know you guys are probably already subscribed and liking the podcast, but share it out. Go ahead and throw this podcast anywhere you guys feel you guys want to throw it at. Throw it in the Norseforge chat gallery under links. Throw it in the wherever. Let's get people in. Let's build this thing. We are at episode 28, guys. 28. And I think I titled this one rather good, because tonight's episode is Thaco, the Great and Powerful. The math edition. Well, it's not the math edition, but it's all the maths. So yes. So with that being said, I know we discussed a little bit of Thaco last week, but let's dive in to see what was Thaco. I know all of us graybeards out there will understand what Thaco is, but for those who aren't versed in 2E or even early edition 3E, let's discuss what Thaco was. Shall we? Let's revisit the question first of all. You can share it with clerics and paladins. You know, rogues and bards. Rogues and bards always get along, because I mean, bards can take the charlatan background, and rogues can take the charlatan background. So yeah, you share it with the fighters, share it with the clerics, share it with the paladins, share it with the BBEG. It's whoever you want to share it to. So revisiting the question from last week that we didn't get to, hey pirate, D&D based question for you. We all know that Gary Gygax created D&D, and everything was good in the world. Everything was good in the world. When Gary Gygax created D&D, everything was good in the world. But from OD&D to AD&D, and going from AD&D to 3E or 3.5, why was THAC0 a bad thing, and why did it change? Well, THAC0 wasn't really a bad thing. It was just, it was an intellectual thing. Let's put it that way. So THAC0 was to hit armor class 0. That's where you get the O from. It's actually THAC 0, THAC 0. And it stands as one of the most iconic and divisive mechanics in the history of Dungeons & Dragons. It was codified in 2E, and by the time 3rd edition emerged in 2000, THAC 0 was discarded in favor of a new and markedly different ascending system for armor class. Basically, instead of now, we got to hit armor class 0, which did a lot of math and a lot of subtraction math. Now, it was just roll to hit, and if you roll something over the armor class of your opponent, then you hit. So let's dive deep into it. The original concept of armor class and a to hit resolution to D&D was derived from naval war games. Did you guys know that? Naval war games, where first class armor represented the best protection, was a lower number, and therefore was better. Early editions used lookup tables, later dubbed attack matrices, to determine whether an attack was successful, cross-referencing the attacker's level and the defender's AC. This approach, though manageable for its wargaming audience, became cumbersome for an expanding RPG play. THAC 0 stands for to hit armor class 0, was introduced as a shorthand to compress the necessary table data into a single number, the die roll needed to hit an opponent with an AC of 0. To determine the number needed to hit that any other AC, the player would simply subtract the target's AC from their THAC 0, thus beating an AC of -2 with a THAC of 15 would require a roll of 17. 15 minus 2, or 15 minus -2 equals 17, or 15 plus 2 equals 17. This is where we also get the term rolling math rocks from, because obviously D&D dice are nothing more than math rocks. Isn't THAC0 easy because your armor class is just a modifier to add to your attack? All you had to do was hit 20? No, that's actually more so on the newer stuff, because THAC0 was a subtraction matrix, and we'll get more into that here in a minute. One of the persistent criticisms of THAC0 is the requirement for subtraction at its core, or as its core action, rather than addition. Human beings, especially under the cognitive load of tabletop play, tend to find subtraction, especially involving negative numbers, significantly more error-prone and mentally taxing than addition. Studies in cognitive psychology support that subtraction is generally less intuitive and slower for most adults than addition, which partially explains why THAC 0 felt unintuitive for many players, regardless of its actual mechanical simplicity. By the way, I think I fixed the microphone issue, so the problem was compounded by the fact that in order to calculate the required roll to hit, players often had to subtract a negative AC for opponents with armor better than plate or magical effects from a positive THAC 0, or vice versa. For instance, if a character with a THAC of 14 was attacking an enemy with an AC of -3, the calculation would be 14 minus -3, which equals 17, which means the player must roll a 17 or better to hit. This would often trip players up, especially those less comfortable with negative numbers or mental math. Calculators. And calculators weren't really a thing back then. And if they were the big calculators. Kirk knows what I'm talking about. In practical play, the process could become even more convoluted when considering temporary buffs, debuffs, and shifting array of attack and AC modifiers. You can see where this is starting to steamroll and snowball and become more and more So AD&D 2E, THACO target minus target's AC equals the number to hit. In 3 and 3.5, when the D20 system was designed and came out, it was the attack or the D20 plus the attack bonus, which is greater than a target's AC. So if you had an attack bonus of positive 3 and you rolled a 15 and your opponent had a 19 armor class, 15, 16, 17, 18, you wouldn't hit. So you'd have to roll a 16 or better to hit an armor class of 19. THACO math always struck me as backwards, much better to be left in the past. Well, okay, Ron, look, if you can add and subtract on an abacus, you're better than me. I mean, I can slide the dang things over, but dang, and it's quite simply to do, but yeah, no, I get what you say. Calculators were abacuses, and Kirk, were you there back when calculators were rocks and chalk? Probably. I know my wife was. The Mrs. Pirate. Kirk was there when math was invented. Ron had a slide rule. Oh my God. The engineer's freaking slide rule. Yes. You know, I just watched a movie recently that had a calculator in it, and this calculator and quite a lot of calculators back in the 60s and 70s took up whole rooms of buildings. And if you want to see how many people it took to program this calculator, all you have to do is go watch the movie Hidden Figures. IBM created their calculator and their computing machine and to calculate launch windows and go no go stuff, and even then it was accurate up to a point before it started becoming inaccurate. So they still had to rely on human people to do everything. So, but calculators and computers used to be the size of rooms. But continuing on with our THACO, don't you dare start with me. You are on all front. Don't you start with me tonight. Absolutely not. Don't you dare start with me. Don't you start with me tonight. Jesus. Oh. I think it's the cable. Either that or there's stuff going on with my computer and I don't have a freaking clue. Computers did get air conditioning long before people. Original calculators, computers were mechanical. Some of the earliest ones used punch cards instead of electronic hardware or software. It's interesting. Yep. I could have been censoring myself. So in the 3rd edition system, all numbers are ascending. AC starts high and gets higher with better equipment and buff, and attack bonuses are added to the die roll. No subtraction is required. It's a much easier system. The subtleties of THAC 0 also hampered the speed and fluidity of combat, while in theory it provided a pre-computed fixed value. I needed 11 to hit an AC of -3 with my sword kind of thing. But in reality, target AC was not often public. especially for monsters. Dungeon masters like ourselves would need to keep these numbers secret to maintain suspense, meaning players often rolled and announced what AC they hit instead of simply I hit or I miss. The DM would then compare this number to the creature's actual AC. This two-step communication slowed down combat resolution, especially at larger tables or within experienced groups. DM screens. That's why DM screens were created. So the players don't know what's happening, doesn't know what the DM's thinking, doesn't know what the DM's got behind all the screens and behind all the monsters and everything else. And it's just, it's secrecy. It's so we could tell the players that there were rules, but that there really weren't rules, that we were just making it up as we went along. Furthermore, bonuses or penalties to attacks or AC could come from spells, items, or situational modifiers such as flanking, cover, or concealment. Both players and DMs needed to consistently recalculate or remember interim values mid-combat, introducing frequent opportunities for error and confusion. This is why THAC 0 went the way of the dodo. We had critical user feedback and legacy debates across multiple generations of players, from those who cut their teeth on 2E, like me and some of the members in the chat, to new arrivals exposed to THACO via CRPGs or retro gaming. The consensus is mixed, but leans towards criticism as years go on. Many argue that while the arithmetic is not astrocalculus and competent, math-inclined gamers can manage it. The typical casual player feels it slows down the action and is easy to forget between sessions. That's because it's also a product of today's schooling and education. But we're not going into that. More people took math rocks in school, then DACA would not be a problem. Anecdotes abound of players needing auxiliary charts, homebrewed quick reference guides, and even multiplication table style aids just to quickly educate basic attack rolls. For others, the main issue is mental friction. Players frequently express the sentiment that addition just feels better and faster, and with the 3E system removed, one of the last obstacles to getting new friends hooked on D&D. So let's evaluate the situation, right? Here's the comparative analytics that I thought up between THACO 30 and 3.5 edition mechanics. THACO is harder whether one is competent in math or not. Yes. Criticisms of THACO. Here's the criticism of THACO. Requires subtraction, negative arithmetic. Descending AC is unintuitive. Negative armor values confuse players. Jargon, THACO a barrier, and THACO as a barrier and non-transparent. Must recalculate or announce AC hit. Bonuses and penalties can be ambiguous. Pre-calculated tables are needed, and it's not modular for further D20 use. 3rd edition and 3.5 improvement. It's purely additive, ascending values. The higher AC is always better. Armor values are always positive. Attack bonuses are part of plain language. Players announce an actual AC targeted. DM says yes or no. All bonuses are additive, easily handled. Nearly all calculation is done at character creation, because you create your attack bonus at character creation. And you got a standardized system for skill saves and checks. You know, 0 isn't even a real number, right? SSJ. So 0 doesn't exist. That is, of course, if you follow Sheldon's logic. So the D20 system, pioneered in D&D 3rd edition, also set a new industry standard, as nearly all D20 based RPGs, including Star Wars Saga Edition, Pathfinder, Mutants and Masterminds, adopted the ascending additive paradigm. Modern CRPGs, such as Neverwinter Nights and Baldur's Gate 3, rely on this logic as well, making the system instantly relatable to new players worldwide. Confusion matrices for the win. I barely know what those are. Math whizzes at my job live in them. Yep. Arabic numerals would like a word with you. 0 to 9 are the numbers. Yeah, but in physics, 0 doesn't exist. I'm just teasing. Yeah, 1 is the loneliest number. And 2 can be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since number 1. So, in conclusion, the decline of THAC0 in Dungeons & Dragons was not due to a single catastrophic flaw, but rather a confluence of usable issues, conceptual oddities, and evolving player expectations. The core criticism, cognitive burden of subtraction, confusion over negative numbers and descending values, jargonistic terminology, and non-modular application ultimately made THAC0 feel arcane in a hobby seeking greater accessibility and mainstream appeal. While some veterans might look back on THAC0 with fondness and view it as a badge of old school knowledge, the overwhelming game design consensus is that ascending additive systems offer a smooth, more logical, and more beginner-friendly play experience without sacrificing mechanical richness. The triumph of the D20 system demonstrates the enduring value of ergonomics and clarity in game rules, a legacy for which lessons of THAC0 serve as a powerful historical example. See, it's historic. We are still getting into archaeology. So, that took up 20 minutes of talking about THAC0. Let's not relive THAC0. Granted, some of us, many of us, cut our teeth in D&D, and yeah, it was a gatekeeper. It was a gatekeeping process because it limited your scope of individuals who actually wouldn't get confused by it and loved it and wanted to continue playing. But in today's age, I believe that keeping the D20 system is the better system. I mean, maybe instead of THAC0, we cap it at THAC20 to hit armor class of 20 and keep the D20 system, but every monster and everything has a armor class of 20 or better kind of thing. So, with that being said, I hope that answers the question on THAC0, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have more questions on THAC0 and more questions on other things of D&D. But this is what I like to see from people. I know Bacon wrote this question. She didn't. I wrote it, but I'm attributing it to Bacon. So, but yeah. How about we get into some fun questions now? I mean, that was fun, but how about we get into some more fun questions? Is there anyone in chat who wants to share something they liked about THAC0? Even though I prefer the newer system, I do find bounding accuracy limiting. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do that. Who wants to share something they liked about THAC0? I mean, besides the obvious, everybody basically had the same armor class, and 0 armor class was better. THAC0 is fun to say. Yes, THAC0 is fun to say. And you notice I swap it up sometimes. I say THAC0 or THAC0, or yeah, it's because it's to hit armor class 0. So it's a letter, it's a number, not a letter. But we do have 8 questions tonight. I managed to squeak in 8 questions, and actually, the questions 3, 4, and 5 aren't really questions, but they're answers to a question. But I didn't put the question in here. So I will have to read that question from my emails because I did not answer, or I did not ask that question. So let me throw this over here so I can see it and read it when it comes up. There we go. So, 42. Never played it, but for my brain, it would be great fun. 42. 42 is the life, the universe, and everything. But we don't know. It's the answer to life, the universe, and everything, but we don't know what the question was. Yeah, exactly. So, our friend Kirk posed this question to me, and I have an answer here somewhere. But the question is, what are the best pirating sequences in film, and why are they Monty Python's The Crimson Permanent Assurance? Well, Kirk, I have not seen Monty Python's The Crimson Permanent Assurance. And it is inconceivable to me that you would pull that one out instead of pulling out one of my wife's favorite piratey-esque, yeah. Princess Bride scenes. But to me, the best pirating sequences in a film. How about for all of us millennials and late Gen Xers who never say die? How about watching One-Eyed Willie and his ship sail out of the caves at the end of The Goonies? Time Bandits, I've seen Time Bandits like once. Not a bad time, but I was like little when I saw it. So, but no, I like The Goonies and the pirate ship for One-Eyed Willie sailing at the end of at the end. I do like a little Rodgers and Hammerstein's Pirates of Penzance. I think it's Rodgers and Hammerstein's. Is it? I think so. Crimson Permanent Assurance was a short film, but I mostly recall it as part of Python's Meaning of Life. Okay. Is that the beginning of Meaning of Life? No, the beginning of Meaning of Life is the Catholics, the Catholic song. Every life is special. Oh, I'm not going to use the actual term, but yeah, every is special. Every is great. If a gets wasted, God gets quite irate. Yeah, that's the opening to the Meaning of Life. The Crimson Permanent Assurance, wasn't that the law firm that was sailing the building off the... Black Flag was awesome. Yeah, I think they... I think they tried to do something like what friggin' Game of Thrones did. It just rushed the last season. Pirates of Penzance is funny, but I don't know if those pirates are piratey in realistic sense. No, they weren't supposed to be piratey in the realistic sense. It was a good pirating sequence. We also had Treasure Island in 1950 was a good pirating sequence. Classic swordplay, mutiny aboard the Hispaniola, set standard for pirate cinema. Here's one for you. Here's one I forgot about. It was surprisingly well choreographed and hilarious, and it balances parody with genuine adventure. How about Muppet Treasure Island? Here's one for Ron. So when I typed out a list for this to answer Ron's question from to answer Kirk's question from last week, how about Captain Phillips and the Somali pirates? Yeah, even though they're not really pirates in the piratey sense of the word. So, I hope that answers your question, Kirk. I mean, yes, the Crimson Permanent Assurance, it was good, but was it really piratey? Or was it parody? Or was it parrot-y? So, I'm glad you asked me the question, Kirk. It got me thinking. But we move on to the most important questions of the evening. And they're 3 in a row, and they all come from Ruby. And they're all not answered by me. Ruby asks, and I'm not even going to go to the question. I'm not even going to go to the answers yet. I'm going to ask the questions first. Ruby asks, for the Mrs. Pirate, she asked 3 questions. What did you think of me, the pirate, the first time we met, the first time I talked about D&D, and the first time LARPing? Well, I don't really LARP, but we'll answer them. Let's go. My wife responds, Mrs. Pirate here. I am answering Ruby's questions regarding Chris. What did I think of Chris the first time I met him? Well, honestly, I thought he was cute, a little bit cocky, but above all, he was intelligent, funny, and he could sing. Well, thank you, dear. Thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you, Mrs. Pirate, for that. Yes, I did sing, and we discussed that last week or so, or wherever, yeah. I don't think I was a little bit cocky. I mean, I did ask Melody if she could try a shirt on, that she could have it, but she'd have to take her shirt off, not knowing that she had a shirt on underneath. That was not my finest choices of words, but yeah. And I was 165 pounds or so. So I wasn't as round in the middle as I am now. So she goes on to answer the next question. The first time we talked about D&D was an interesting conversation where we were having with our friend David. Now, David is the same individual that invited me over to Mrs. Pirate's house or apartment to play Rock Band. So we can thank our friend David for this. And about the different versions. And my wife prefers 3.5. That just means I'm more centered now. Is it centered or is it more grounded? Weren't we all less round? Probably. But we are still all in shape, Ruby. Just remember that, because round is a shape. Bard pirate rolling a stealth check equals 1. Come friends who plow the sea truce to navigation, take another situation. Let's vary piracy with a little burglary. I like that. I like that, Kirk. I like that a lot. But yes, Kevin, kind of both. Kind of both. Round, grounded, some Pirates of Penzance lyrics. Well, Kirk, the only really true song that I know from Pirates that I can do up to like the first verse of is Model Major General. So, and no, I'm not going to sing it for you guys. There's nothing in the world that you guys can do on the podcast to get me to sing I am the very model of a modern Major General of information, animal, vegetable, and mineral. But that's just piratey of me, isn't it? Pirate shows up to a game of strip poker in only shorts and a t-shirt. Does he expect to lose? Because if I showed up in only shorts and a t-shirt, I'm expecting to win. I'm knowing I'm winning. Wow, 41 minutes. Look, see, we just get rolling and it's time flying, people. Okay, sing Poor Lonely One instead. I don't know that one. Well, there's one more, Ruby. There's one more for you. And LARPing? Well, that was just a given with his personality and his sense of adventure. I just wish I could do it with him. But alas, my body refuses to let me. And that is because, as we discussed, my wife suffers from multiple sclerosis. She has for 26 years. 25, 24, 26. I don't know. It's something in the high 20s. So, but yeah, she doesn't do too well out in the heat. She doesn't do too well out in the sun, and she doesn't do too well with a lot of the garb that you would have to wear while LARPing. So, but thank you for those questions, Ruby. I am thanking you for my wife, even though she should be in the chat. If she's not in the chat, she's probably taking care of her grandchild. But yeah, no, I hope you found out a little bit more about your favorite pirate archaeologist. Now, on to some more questions. You just described a vampire, Chris? What? How did I? Well, yes, my wife can be a vampire. You know what? I say that all the time, Kevin. I really say that all the time because my wife likes it dark in our house. I can't see in our house because it's so dark. I need light. She doesn't like light. So maybe my wife is a vampire. I did have to invite her in one day. So maybe, and she never left. Oh, you might be onto something, Kevin. My wife might be a vampire. She might not be a pirate. She might be a vampire. So, but continuing on to questions, because we have 3 more questions, and we have our deadly dungeon. And I think you guys may be surprised. You guys did not do it 2 weeks in a row on that. A vampire? Maybe. But you guys did not do it 2 weeks in a row on that. You guys did not meet what you guys got. You guys got the win. The win matched, but the percentages did not. So, but we will get there. We will get there. All in due time, people. All in due time. But our next question. Oh, wait. Nope. It's another answer from Mrs. Pirate. Regarding our separations, well, I always miss being with my Mr. Pirate, but I know his work takes him around the world. And this question was, what is the thing you miss the most when you're separated? And what is the one thing that you are happy about when you're separated? So this is my wife's answer. Regarding our separations, well, she always misses being with me, but she knows my work takes me around the world. I go everywhere. And she did marry me when I was in the military. So she kind of had her heads up on that. But she does like the peace and quiet while I'm not there, obviously. And I like the peace and quiet when I'm not there. I'm not getting nagged at, as she alludes to. And I'm not being told that I need to go do something because I just do it. So, yeah, there you go. I hope you learned a little bit more about Mrs. Pirate, and I hope you learned a little bit more about me. Keep the questions coming, people. I love them. I love the questions. Thank you for this. Moving on to question 7 of the evening, question 7. So this one comes from Yokai. Yokai Lover, hey there, sorry I missed last week's pod live. I was at a convention and dancing the night away at a ball. Boo, you chose a ball and a convention over the convention I can understand, but a ball? Anyway, on to a question for you in chat. What is your favorite pop culture representation of cultural mythos tales, i.e. Stargate and Ancient Egypt, Rick Riordan and all of his writings, Star Trek Next Generation's Robin Hood, Gargoyles' take on Shakespeare, the Librarian's Arthurian tales, etc.? Well, Yokai Lover. One, I'm going to have to read up and figure out who Rick Riordan is, because I don't know him. Stargate. I absolutely love Stargate. But Stargate's not just ancient Egypt. Yeah, they modeled all of the Goa'uld after ancient Egyptian gods and representations of gods. But the planets that they went to weren't all ancient Egyptian planets. So I do like Stargate. But here is the best part for you. Star Trek The Next Generation and Gargoyles are the same casts. Gargoyles was helmed by Jonathan Frakes, and Jonathan Frakes used a lot of Star Trek The Next Generation actors in Gargoyles. I loved Gargoyles growing up. I love Star Trek Next Generation growing up. I don't think I've seen the Star Trek Next Generation's Robin Hood or version of Robin Hood, but I Star Trek Next Generation and what they do for the cultural mythos of like using the different races of aliens as a analog for what is going on Earth. I think Gene Roddenberry knocked it out the park with the original series. So, and the Librarian's Arthurian Tales, I absolutely loved the Librarian's TV series. And the movies, the Librarians movies weren't necessarily based on Arthurian tales, but they were like the Judas Chalice and the Spear of Destiny and stuff like that. They were all mythos in biblical writings, you want to say? Kevin loved Gargoyles, still disappointed by its ending. Like a lot of good stuff, though. Absolutely disappointed by its ending. And Keith David, perfect for the role of the main gargoyle. And Jonathan Frakes was the voice of the guy who built the castle on top of the skyscraper. Yeah, no, it was... Would Avengers, Loki, Thor, etc. be too cliche? No, actually not. Grimm mixes fairy tales with Templar Knights. Yes, I loved Grimm. I absolutely loved Grimm. Me and the pirate wife watched Grimm till she got bored with it, and I continued on till it ended. It changed. The later seasons, and that's what TV series do. They have a good thing going, and then 2 or 3 seasons before they want to start ending the show, they change the show. And I don't know if they do that for the purpose of trying to lose a fan base so they can cut the show earlier, or just trying something new. But it never works. It never works. They lose fan bases, and then they cut the show. So... But yeah, no, I thank you for that question. That was a good question. It really was. But I'm going to have to read up on what Rick Riordan and what he writes, because I have no idea who you're talking about there, honestly. And that's sad for me, because I should know who that is. Now, this question right here came to us from the Discord. And it came to us from the Discord by none other. I'm got to pull it up because I didn't pull it up earlier. I had it pulled up earlier, but it came to us from Rogue Defender in the Discord. Should random encounters be truly random, or should they be something always winnable for the PCs? Great question, and that is a great question to lead to end the questions section off tonight. Random encounters should truly be random. Absolutely, truly be random. But they also should be winnable for the PCs. This is a both question. This is a both answer question. Because random encounters should be scaled to your players' levels. And random encounters, traveling down the road, you get into a random encounter with some bandits. That's just fodder. It's just extra fodder XP that you should be able to give. It shouldn't be an easy winnable battle. By no means. It shouldn't be an easy winnable battle, but it should be a winnable battle nonetheless. Random encounters are designed to test your player's ability to think on the fly. And if you've just gotten out of a major battle and your players didn't take a rest, didn't take a long rest to replenish their spell slots, didn't take a long rest to sharpen their armor or to sharpen their weapons and polish their armor and do their upkeep like they should be doing, random encounters are supposed to be difficult in that matter, so you can instill into your players the thought of, hey, you just fought a major battle. Anything can happen on the road. Take a rest, eat some food, replenish your spell slots, because if you don't, you're going to be up a creek without a paddle. And Ron said it. Ron says that in the chat. Sometimes a retreat is a win. Know when to fight and know when to walk away. However, if you're on the road and you're caravanning down the road and you get stopped by a group of highwaymen, and there are 7 of them and only 4 of you, and they surround you, how much retreating can you do? You are a vampire. It doesn't matter if you love garlic too much. And it's not garlic. It's crushed Italian cologne. I have the entire Manhattan Clan Gargoyles and Funko Pops watched over a figurine of Chinnabog, the Gargoyle Sentinel from Night on Bald Mountain from Fantasia. Nice. I think avoiding a fight or talking your way out is the ultimate win. If you can... Yes, Kevin, yes. If your players have the aptitude to talk their way out of a fight, bonus XP. Bonus XP for the role-playing itself. Of course, you're going to get XP if you fight and obviously dispatch your foes. But if you talk through the fight before it gets to a point to fighting, and you talk them down, that, in my book, gives more role-playing experiences and gives better XP. Exactly, Ron. That's called role-playing. Exactly. So what magic charm did you find that protects you from the garlic? That's to you, Vampirate. But thank you for this question, Rogue Defender. It's a great question. Munchkins don't know what that is, though, Ron. Wait. Little people, or are we talking about the game Munchkin? Because the game Munchkin, absolutely, you can't retreat. Game Munchkin, you got to kick down the door, you got to fight the monster, you got to loot the treasure. She's an Italian vampire. She was bitten after she had eaten the garlic. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I know a rock star who looks like a vampire. And I know a secret, but I can't. I was forbidden to tell any of those stories. So I will let her tell those stories. But guess what time it is, ladies and gentlemen? Pirates and piratesses, lady pirates and masters of the sea. It is time. It is time once again for our daily dungeon. And this week's daily dungeon is Salieri versus Mozart. Two incredible masters of their craft. Yes, I'm not a big Salieri fan, but he was a master of his craft. Right? So let's talk about them. Let's talk about it. Antonio Salieri, court-appointed maestro, disciplined and calculating. He lived in Mozart's shadow and channels his envy into precision. His weapons and his gear he brought with him. Now you all know we do this deadliest warrior style. 100 battles. We go through their strengths, their weaknesses, and then they battle, and then we see who comes out on top out of 100 battles, right? So what does Salieri bring? Salieri brings an ebony concert grand piano called the Dark Elegy. He's got a baton of dissonance, materializes crushing atonal shockwaves. His annotated score scrolls primed with hidden sabotage cues. He has his abilities and traits. He's got the opera overwhelm, commanding basso profondo that shatters vocal cords and morale. His poison notes, dissonant chords induce nausea, disorientation, and minor physical cramps. Just minor physical cramps. His court patronage influence. He saps Mozart's audience support mid-battle. His weaknesses. He relies on premeditated compositions, slower to adapt on the fly. He is ego-driven, prone to hesitation if Mozart outshines him theatrically. Kevin's not a fan of either, but he had to vote Mozart for his genius. Yes, absolutely. Now let's talk about Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart with a name like Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart and Antonio Salieri. Antonio Salieri sounds like he should have been in Pirate Wifey's family. But Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, that just sounds mean, right? His persona and background. He was a prodigy extraordinaire, reckless genius of the classical era. Fueled by boundless creativity and crowd-winning charisma. His weapons and gear. He brings to the table an ivory-finished grand piano he calls Silver Rondo. Hey, look, Ron, you're Mozart. You're part of Mozart's weaponry. Wham! Absolutely. Nice 80s reference, Kevin. Nice 80s reference. Mozart also brings the magic flute, which unleashes sonic charms that distract and enthrall. And his quill algorithm scribe, improvisational sheet music generator. He's got a sheet music generating quill. His abilities and traits, he's got the Rondo Riptide. Sounds like a freaking WWE move, doesn't it? Rapid fire arpeggios that destabilize enemy defenses and scatter trap triggers. He's got a symphony of spontaneity. His creativity, improvisation burst overrides the opponent's predefined tactics. And his audience enchantment. It captivates onlookers, generating sympathy shockwaves that bolster his vitality. His weaknesses? He's got an exuberant flair that can overextend stamina. And his health vulnerabilities under sustained pressure. Yeah, Mozart died at an early age due to health issues. Tactical overview. This is Salieri's strategy. He opens with the poison notes to disorient Mozart, follow up with the opera overwhelm shockwaves, then lock down the audience's favor to weaken Mozart's morale. Mozart's strategy. The rondo riptides to break through Salieri's early attacks, the symphony of spontaneity to counter the unpredictability, and the audience enchantment to reclaim the crowd support and sap Salieri's focus. The battlegrounds rotate nightly, grand opera houses, candlelit at aristocratic salons, moonlit palace gardens, and bohemian taverns, ensuring no side gains consistent environmental leverage. Now, before I tell you who won the simulations battle, you guys did not disappoint. You guys overwhelmingly chose Mozart 63% versus Salieri's only 38%. However, out of the 100 battle strategy, and we go off of you guys, right? We know we go off of you guys and your guys' votes in the Discord to see who moves forward. But with that, the 100 battle simulations. Mozart's spontaneous improvisation outpaces the dissonance traps and crowd-driven vitality and rapid arpeggio. Salieri's early disorientation via poison notes, opera overwhelm shockwaves, and steady tactical control only netted them 55% of the time for Mozart, 45% of the time for Salieri. The key takeaways to all of this. The key takeaways is Mozart's improvisational genius and audience-powered stamina secure a slight edge in more than half the battle, while Salieri's methodical why was I trying to put an L there? Methodical and commanding base assaults net him nearly half the victories whenever he neutralizes Mozart's crowd influence early. In this ultimate composure class, raw creativity narrowly outshines calculated precision, but both maestros leave the stage in spectacular fashion. Name a current musician with Salieri's name. You can't. Being an egomaniac sociopath makes it much easier to be creative without second-guessing yourself or suffering from imposter syndrome. Are you talking about Salieri, Ron? Thank you, Kirk. Methodical. Yes, methodical. There was an I there, and I could not get past the I. So, as you can see, and I need to fix this. I did fix this last time, but I need to fix this. Because you guys can't see me otherwise. Look at that. I could fix that on the fly. But as you can see, you guys voted Mozart 63%. I mean, you're not far off. You guys did get the win. So our bracket looks like this, everybody. I know. Look at me using all the tech. This is what our bracket looks like. Now, I moved things around, okay? I moved Salieri and Mozart down, and I moved the Crocodiles and the Komodo Dragons up, right? And I did that only because I don't think that it would have been fair to Mozart to go against either the IRA or the Taliban. And I don't think it was fair for Beethoven to go against a crocodile or a Komodo dragon. However, I do think it's fair that a crocodile or a Komodo dragon could go against the IRA or the Taliban. Kirk, you thoughtful. So, with that being said, our bracket's turning out this way. Thieves Guild has moved forward. Beethoven's moved forward. Mozart's moved forward. And Ultron's moved forward. However, who moves forward next weekend or next week is all about you. And I've already put it up in the chat, in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, please join the Discord and do your voting. I am abstaining from voting in this because my vote skews the results kind of thing. So, with that being said, our next week's bracket, and next week's bracket is going to lead us into chat, by the way. But our next week's bracket is crocodiles versus the Komodo dragon. Two large reptilians, one with teeth, one with a razor gum line, one with a bite force of over 1,700 pounds, but can't open his jaw to save his life, and one who doesn't need a bite force, but will just poison you with his saliva. Both are about twice the size of a human being. And the crocodile can weigh quite a bit more. So, who wins? The crocodile or the Komodo dragon? This would be a fight. This would be a fight because the Komodo dragon would be, I believe, would be faster. The crocodile, the only way the crocodile wins a lot of the time is if the crocodile gets the Komodo dragon in the death roll and drowns the Komodo dragon. But we will have to find out next week. No, you cannot conclude alligators and caimans in with the crocodiles. They are two different species. Actually, alligators, caimans, and crocodiles are three different species. The difference between alligators and crocodiles have a wider a wider jaw, wider face. Their nostrils are in a different place on their nose and everything else. Alligators. You see the next Godzilla movie, dear? Nah, I don't see it. Probably neither wins in the end. Croc will win the battle, but die later of poison. You might be onto something there, Kirk. You might be onto something. But look at those claws on the dang Komodo dragon. I mean, they're like finger toes. Anyway, that brings us into chat, everybody. We like to start off chat by talking about the good things for the week. What are the good things for the week? I know my good thing for the week. My good thing for the week is I'm getting a new boss on Monday. And not a new boss, but an old boss. He came back off of paternity leave. And my current boss is going up to be the boss up in Tallahassee. So that's my good thing for the week. Is the battle on land or in water? Probably both. Probably both, Ron. We like to keep things fair and just and even in the tacticalness of the deadliest warrior competition, so to speak. Kirk's right. If the dragon gets through Croc's hide, yeah, and with those toes, it might. With those toenails, look. But the only thing that's going to stop, I look at it this way, and a lot of you Gen Xers and a lot of you elder millennials are probably gonna go with me on this. If these two could talk, right? Because the Komodo dragon, all the Komodo dragon is a big giant monitor lizard, and the only thing that I can see that I picture when I look at the Komodo dragon is the crocodile telling the Komodo dragon, "These are not goanna's eggs." Because gators don't do live births. They do egg births. And if you get that reference, type it in the chat. These are not goanna's eggs. I want to see TRDU in the chat. If you understand the reference, TRDU. It's kind of like turd, but the U and the D are swapped. Kirk's good thing of the week. He doesn't actually. he don't think he actually killed the guinea pigs, still watching them for effects of eating potatoes. Potatoes like garlic, but for guinea pigs. Who knew? Oh, good thing of the week. I pissed the Mrs. Pirate off. Yep, I pissed the Mrs. Pirate off. I told her when and if I finally get back home, I want her to make me some homemade Johncini. I want homemade Johncini. And Johncini is spelled, let me see if I can spell it into this in the chat. I should be able to. For all you Italians out there, that's Johncini. That is Johncini. I know it's Johncini. Well, Ruby, I can't go to Canada to have any. I would love to, but I can't go to Canada. I drove through Canada once. It was a great drive. It was a great drive. I drove the Queen Elizabeth Highway from New York, from Niagara Falls, all the way over to the Michigan side. See, she don't love me. She will not make Johncini. Anyway, everybody, it is 12 after the hour. It is 12 after the hour. We're going through these things like butter, dude. Remember when we struggled to get through an hour's version of this when we started? It's just getting easier and easier and easier to do. Keep sending in those questions, everybody. Keep sending them in. roguebardadvice@gmail.com. That is roguebardadvice@gmail.com. Because we are coming to an end, everybody. It was a great show tonight. Thank you for coming in. Please send all your questions. Send everything either on the Discord in the potential Bard advice questions and or chat topics. Please, we are getting to the point where it is starting to be football season. We're in week 2 of preseason, and oh my, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers look so good in their preseason game against. Who did they play? Did they play the Titans? They whooped the Titans' butts. I mean, yeah, it's the Titans, but still. And oh my God, if Chaz was in the chat, I would like to say 70-yard field goal for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Oh my, that is amazing, impressive, and I hope the Jaguars do something this year. I hope Chaz finds this and says so. But at the end of the day, this is still Rogue Bard Advice, and it is still part of Bard Advice. So please, continue to like, share, and subscribe. Join the Discord if you haven't already joined the Discord. And I will see you all next Friday. Oh, and on a lighter note, if you guys follow me on TikTok at ArchaeoPirate at TikTok, I know some of you don't have TikTok, but if you do follow me on TikTok, I am currently on Tuesdays in pirate garb reading Treasure Island. But next Tuesday, I will not be reading from the book. No, I will be getting myself pied in the face because the members of my chat, I made a deal with the members of my chat. Had they hit 45,000 likes by 9 o'clock, I would read to them for an extra hour and I would pie myself in the face next week. They beat that. They got 45,000 likes by 8:30, and we started at 7:30 with that bet. We started at 7:30 with 1,900 likes. They outperformed themselves because by 10 o'clock when we ended, we were sitting at 62,000 likes. So if you want to see a pirate get pied in the face, join me on Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, over on TikTok at ArchaeoPirate, and I will be pieing myself in the face sometime during that stream. I will pie myself in the face. But, yes, as Kevin and Kirk and Ron and Ruby have all said, good night, Rogue Bardadians, and join us next week. Same Rogue time, same Rogue channel. And remember, take what you can, give nothing back. And with that, I bid you all fair winds and calm seas. Good evening.